Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare प्रभुपाद की जय, भगवद गीता की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, भक्तवृंद की जय, हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Is my
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you just
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, is it clear now? Are you able to hear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Let me connect.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to close the chat so that there is no disturbance to anyone. And at the same time, what we're going to do is, yeah, so that there is no distraction. Right, let me pull up my screen here. That's fine. It's good. Let me quickly pull my screen up. Let me pull that. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Ram Ram. Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Okay, are you all able to see my screen? Can we just go back over Zoom and see that? Yes. Okay. Right. So today is the most exciting chapter and the most important chapter as well, which is Karma Yoga. Once again, Hare Krishna to everyone and welcome to this particular session. Just for the benefit of everyone, so what we have done is we have muted everyone so that there is less distraction. So in the next 1 hour, what we're going to do is we're going to learn what is Karma Yoga. Right, this is the most important chapter, or one of the important chapters, where at times there is a confusion in our mind. We'll try to explain, and we'll try to see in the easiest way and try to come out of this particular confusion. We'll do that. And so I see that okay, let me quickly see, we have from our team. Okay, right. Right. So before we start, as usual, we will offer our prayers to our acharyas and gurus. Okay. Yeah, so sorry for that. I think we just got muted somehow. So before we start the session, we will offer our prayers to the acharyas, gurus, and our Supreme Lord. With this, we'll start off with our session. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhabhitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. That's it. Okay, welcome once again to this third chapter of Karma Yoga. We're going to learn this third chapter of Karma Yoga from the Lord's mouth, and we will see what the Supreme Personality of God is trying to help us understand through Arjuna in this section of Karma Yoga, in this particular chapter. Right. Our entire teachings, this particular teachings which we are going through, are the teachings by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who's the founder Acharya of International Society for Sri Krishna Consciousness. Right. So yesterday, many of you or most of you have requested saying we would want to know the summary of chapter 1, want to know the summary of chapter 2 as well. So the summary of chapter 1 was both the armies, they got into the field of Kurukshetra, right, with the ultimate, how do we understand this Bhagavad Gita? We understood that is we need an ultimate faith. And the first chapter was observing the army. So who and all were observing the army? It was Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and Arjuna who were observing the army, right? At the same time, what happened in chapter 1, and there were many Duryodhana tried to act diplomatically, and then we saw the signs of victory, and once we saw the signs of victory, and finally we also saw that the Arjuna had some questions in his mind, and when he went in middle of the two armies, then he had some 5 arguments which he wanted to put forth in front of Krishna, which is compassion, loss of enjoyment, fear of sinful reactions, destruction of the family tradition, traditions, so on and so forth, and then finally ended up with destruction, what you call indecision. Then finally he went up with indecision. Then all these particular arguments which he had were dispelled by Sri Krishna, the Lord, in the second chapter, which we closed yesterday, right? The second chapter was about Guru, which is identity. We saw, which was summarized based on the book of Sutapa, one of our Sutapa Prabhu, His Grace Sutapa Prabhu. We gave the acronym as Gita, which is G for Guru, and then we also understood that why Guru is very important in this particular age of Kali. And then we also identified with reference to our, we understood that we are not the body, but we are the soul. Then we saw there were a lot of characteristics of soul, and then we understood the soul has something called as consciousness as a symptom. The symptom of the soul is just consciousness. With the consciousness, we are aware of anything and everything around us. And we also learned that the soul cannot remain for a single moment or a single second, because the soul's activity is just to desire. It's highly active. It cannot stay inactive at all. It's highly active. It always desires to do something, right? But we were always serving the spiritual Lord, and then we fell down over here because we also wanted to enjoy. We were envious, or we were rather jealous of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's how we came to the material world. And then we also saw the two kind of dharmas. One is the swadharma, which is performing our prescribed duty. And also we learned about nitya dharma of the soul. The nitya dharma of our soul is nothing but attaching to the God, and then what we call doing our activities and connecting to the Supreme Personality of God and serving the Lord. And finally, we concluded the second chapter, which is like the entire contents of the Gita summarized with the help of Atmarama. Who's Atmarama? Atmarama is a person who is like a self-realized soul. Now, who's the self-realized soul? There were 4 questions that were asked as well. To Arjuna asked 4 questions to Krishna, saying, how does he sit? How does he speak? How does he walk? How does he talk? All those things we understood. Who's a Hitapragya or a Dhira? He's called as a Atmarama. That is what we understood in the chapter 2 as well. And after knowing this, what was Arjuna's confusion? Arjuna still was in his, somewhere in his mind, what you call, he thought, let me think about renunciation, because I heard a lot from Krishna. Now it is time for me to renounce. So in the second chapter, Krishna explains, we also learned yesterday, if we recollect, something about karma kanda, sankhya yoga, and also buddhi yoga. So what I'm going to do is quickly we will try to open up for our participants. I'm going to allow to unmute you all. If we can help us understand in terms of what did we understand yesterday. Very briefly, we learned something about karma kanda. Hare Krishna. Yes, are you people able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, you're clear.
Yes.
We learned something
you're
about
audible.
karma kanda. Can anyone explain what did we learn about karma kanda? What is karma kanda activities? Then we also learned about Sankhya yoga and also a little bit of buddhi yoga.
Prabhuji, should I unmute everyone?
Yeah, they are already unmuted. I think almost everyone are unmuted. So yeah,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
So,
please go ahead.
Karmakanda is where we do an activity, also wishing to enjoy the fruit of that activity.
Perfect. Let's not explain anything further. We will learn in Karma Yoga. Perfect, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes.
And also, I think it says about the prescribed duties.
Perfect. The prescribed duties. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mataji. And we learned little bit of Buddhi Yoga. What is Buddhi Yoga?
No benefits expected.
No benefits.
Nishkama karma.
No, we
Without any
didn't learn.
Kama
No,
karma.
we didn't learn anything about Nishkama Karma. That we're going to learn that today. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We're going to learn that today. So
So
what is
you do
good?
the activity for you do the activity, but you don't expect any benefits. Is it
Yes,
so?
we do the activity, but we don't expect any benefits. So this particular person or a self-realized soul gets into a particular stage with the Jnana Yoga, understands the Sankhya Yoga, that I am not this particular body, but I am the soul, and tries to perform the activities, right? And also at the same time, he focuses on the Lord and connects to the Lord, and that is where he serves his devotion as well. That is called as Buddhi Yoga. Little bit of a tinge of information we learned, and we learned lots about Sankhya Yoga in terms of we are the soul, we are not the body, so on and so forth. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, with your permission, again, I'll go mute everyone here. Okay. Right. Now, as and when as and when Arjuna heard about this, Arjuna started thinking, oh, Buddhi Yoga just means that using one's intelligence. And what we should do is we should avoid all the abominable activities. Why was he thinking about abominable activities? Because he was already involved in a war. They came into what you call the Kurukshetra, and he was thinking that already they're in a war of Kurukshetra, and with this particular Kurukshetra, they will be doing abominable activities just by fighting. Hence, he did not want it to fight, and that's where he said, I would like to renounce over here and then go back to the forest. This was the thought of Arjuna at that point of time. So this particular chapter, this is a connection where the chapter begins with this confusion where Arjuna wants a clarification, right? He wants a clarification from the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he thinks that renunciation and working are like confusion. Why are you telling me at times, no, you should not do bad deeds, right? We understood that karma is just an activity, as you rightly mentioned. And then vikarma is something like you're doing an activity, but you're doing against the shastras, which is called as vikarma, right? And at the same time, you're saying renunciation, don't do abominable activities. He was confused. It was confusing for him. So hence, he asked the Lord to give a particular instructions, and we will see that in this particular chapter today, with 4 sections where it talks about renunciation or the so-called tyaga or becoming sannyasi, or whether we have to renounce or we have to act in action, right? And we will also see the different layers or the rungs of the yoga ladder, and also we will see an excellent example of a self-realized soul who's an exemplary for a self-realized soul. And in the last section, we will see who's the enemy of the soul as well. Okay. So with this, just give me a second, please. Okay. So with this is where the Arjuna's confusion, as we just discussed a while ago, it starts off with saying, okay, please tell me one thing what I have to do. So he asks for a conclusive path where it says, ekam vada, tell me one thing that I have to do this way or that way. Now, what do I mean by this way? Should we renounce permanently, or should I act something in action? So why was he asking that? Because there was a confusion. So now Krishna, what happens is he begins answering that renunciation of activity is not the means of purification, right? If you renounce your particular activity, that is not called as, or that is not a means of purification. Rather, it is the result of that particular purification. So we will see what would happen if somebody would want to renounce an activity without purifying themselves, or without being purifying themselves. We see that in the next shloka, or in the next verse. So this next verse talks about karmendriyani samyamya aste manasha smaran Indriyarthan vimudatma mithyachara sa uchyate. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender or a mithyachari. So when a premature renunciation of prescribed duties happens, what would it lead to? It will neither lead to freedom from reaction, because for any action that we do, there is a reaction, right? We learned that yesterday. Any karma that we do, there is a particular reaction. So like if somebody is like prematurely renunciation their prescribed duties, what would happen is neither they will get into a sort of liberation. Why? Because they will not be even purifying their hearts or souls. So then what we have to do? So what we have to do is we have to do our prescribed duties and purify our soul, right? We have to do, no matter what, we have to do our prescribed duties and purify our soul. As just now we started off the session, because the soul's nature is always to desire, and it is always to be active. It cannot be inactive at all. It cannot remain, or it can't think that yes, I can't do anything, because everyone is forced. And in this particular material world, what are we trying to do? We are forced by the Maya, that is a material nature, who's controlling with the three modes of material nature. And that's exactly why we cannot even what you call keep quiet for a single moment. Hence, uh, what we have to do is either we have to be engaged in the service of Krishna, or enjoy this material world and get into the cycle of birth and death and get into the entanglement of this particular material world. That is exactly what is being tried to showcase in this particular slide, where we have shown a sannyasi who calls himself as a sannyasi or a yogi, but if you see, he has a cigarette in his hand and a mobile phone as well. So he's a pretender, he's a mithyachari. That's what we are trying to explain here, right? We have seen in the Shastras as well. Well, this might not be the perfect or a classic example, but we have seen in the Shastras where Bharat Maharaj, right? Almost everyone might be aware of this particular story of Bharat Maharaj, who was a king in his life, who what you call gave up his kingdom, and then he renounced his life. So when he was in the forest, when he renounced his life, one day what he saw when he was doing his nitya karma, or trying to take care or trying to offer his praise to the Lord, he went to the river to take a shower or a bath. Then what he saw is there was a deer or a foal, a pregnant deer, who was over there, and all of a sudden heard the noise of a nearby tiger or a lion. And immediately the lion ran away, and the deer delivered a baby, and the mother died, and the mother deer died. So as and when Bharat Maharaj saw that, he was attached. He immediately picked up the deer, and then he started taking care of the deer. Right, when he started taking care of the deer during his normal activities, he used to ensure that the deer is always around him, and he used to very much take care of the deer. And he forgot, while he was serving the Lord, he was still attached to that particular deer. So what we understand from him, so at the end of his lifetime, one day what happened, after some months passed by, what happened is one day the deer did not return home. So he went into the forest to search of the deer. While he was in the search of the deer, he fell from a particular cliff and he died. And when he died, what happened? He took the birth of a deer. Why? We will learn this in our later chapters, that whatever you are thinking at the time of your death, that is what you're going to take your body. That is what we learned about the transmigration yesterday of the soul, and that is what you're going to get into the body. So what we understood from here, or what we conclude from here, is no one should remain unoccupied in any way. Association is very important, right? And we get bodies as per our karma, and attachment to family makes one forgetful of death. That is what we understood from that particular slide, right? So that is where this is exactly where Krishna condemns that one who has renounced without proper purification, and that's why he calls them as a pretender or a mithyachari. Simply pretends that he has taken control over the senses. However, his senses are still dwelling on the sense objects, right? This particular person is still, senses are still dwelling on the sense objects. Hence, one should follow the rules and regulations of his particular status and make gradual progress in the progressive ladder for his purification or existence. Okay, now we will see who is superior. Is it a pretender who is superior or a householder who is superior in this particular shloka?
Yasva indriyani manasa niyamyat bhate Arjuna karmendriyaihi karma yogam asaktaha savishishyate.
On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior, right? So Krishna himself is saying here that, and rather he appreciates saying, a sincere, dutiful householder is far, far, far better than an attached or a mithyachari sannyasi, right? You can renounce your life, but if you are completely not renounced, if you are prematurely renouncing, then that is not called a proper renunciation. This is exactly, and that's exactly why one should sincerely try to control the active senses by the mind. Yesterday we discussed about how the mind and then utilize our intelligence and then begin with karma yoga, right? So we will understand what is karma yoga a little bit in terms of do your karma yoga without your attachment. We will understand in a while ago. Now, why he has utilized the word sincerity or do anything and everything with sincerity, then only you will go back to Godhead, because we need to live a controlled life based on the shastras. Sincerity means we are following the shastras, the sadhus, and the gurus and the association, and at the same time carry out our business as usual without any attachment. We will learn that in the upcoming slides here. So in this particular slide, we are seeing that Purushottam Maharaj, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Purushottam Maharaj, while he was a king, he was a Raja, he still carried out his business and surrendered to the Lord, living a controlled life as a great devotee. Okay, so moving on, we will try to see what Krishna is trying to explain here in this particular shloka.
Yajñarthat karmano anyatra
Anyatra
loko yam
karma
karma bandhanaha
tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. What is Krishna trying to explain here? Arjuna wanted to avoid the work. Why he wanted to avoid the work? Just because of his fear. And what was his fear? He had a material attachment, and at the same time he was not desiring anything, but still he had a material attachment. How was a material attachment? Because he was compassionate for his own people. That's exactly why he did not want to wage a war. At the same time, he was fear about the sinful reactions as well. Hence, Krishna explains in this verse clearly that work has to be done as a sacrifice, and sacrifice for whom? Sacrifice means sacrifice as a yajna, and it has to be done for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. And as and when we do that, that is the ideal way. This will remove from all sinful reactions and bondages, because in our Vedas it is clearly stated as yajna vai Vishnu. Yajna vai Vishnu means the purpose of sacrifice is the pleasure of Vishnu or the Lord Vishnu himself. This is why Krishna conscious is emphasized as a process of yajna. In this Kali Yuga, or in this Yuga Dharma, what you call the Sankirtana, Sankirtana is clearly prescribed here, which we emphasize more and more in Krishna consciousness. We will see that further as to why we cannot perform many yajnas or almost a kind of a kriyas and yajnas. We will see that just to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Now, We also learned a little bit, or more or less, yesterday as well, as to how do we do Krishna consciousness. The first and the foremost thing is to surrender to the Lord, or surrender to the spiritual master. How do we identify a spiritual master? One should come from the four bona fide sampradayas, right? And then take the guidance of a spiritual master and follow the regulative principles. We will see certain the regulative principles. What are the regulative principles which Srila Prabhupada or ISKCON says there are four regulative principles, which we will see that. And this particular verse clearly explains that one will be able to continue to do their work and elevate from the Karma Kanda section to the Karma Yoga. Karma Kanda means they are just doing the work. You're doing the work because you have a material desire, but we will see what is Karma Yoga right now. So to conclude this verse, so we are concluding this particular, the first section of this chapter by stating that Karma Yoga is nothing but be dutiful, and at the same time do your duties, at the same time ensure that you are detached from the duties. Now let us try to understand this further in the next verse. So with this understanding, Arjuna started pondering, what about those people? Oh Lord Krishna, please tell me, what about those people who cannot perform karma yoga at all? How will they go back to Godhead? Is there a procedure at all? I'm not able to focus on the karma yoga, or I'm not able to connect to ultimate devotional service. What should I do? How will they go back to Godhead? He's asking for our benefit. So we will try to see that. So here, before we get into this section of the yoga ladders and so on and so forth, let's try to understand a little bit of yoga, the definition of yoga. Yoga is connecting our soul to the supreme personality of Godhead, as simple as that. It is we are connecting our soul to the supreme personality of Godhead. And yoga is not what we know currently. Most of us think that yoga is a kind of an exercise to shape our body, to keep ourselves fit. Or at times, some people think that we meditate and gain powers, right? We are doing dhyana. Or yoga is not a process where we increase our lifespan. However, yoga is a process where we connect our soul to the supreme personality of Godhead. Let's understand that further. Right. What are the types of yoga and their paths? How does they take the path to Lord Krishna? Right. The first one is the karma, or the karma part of it. Now, what happens here in karma? A person or only works. Their activity or their action is just to work, work, work. They are working. Why? Why are they working? Because they want to gratify their senses. They want to make use of their senses, and they would want to just gratify their senses. That is the first kind of activity, right? But at the same time, then how is the path that is leading to Krishna that is shown in this particular presentation here? So what happens is, these days in this Kali Yuga also, what we do at times, whenever there is a housewarming ceremony, we try to do a housewarming ceremony. We try to please the Lord because someone said that you have to do this ceremony and you have to please the Lord. Or you do this kind of a what you call yajna to gain more money. We will pray to Lord Lakshmi, or so on and so forth. That is called as karma part of it. The second part of it is dhyana. There are some kind of people who just do dhyana. They just meditate, meditate, meditate. Why? They want to control their eight limbs. Ashtanga yoga, they are called as. Basically, we'll see in the upcoming slides. They just meditate and they try to increase their intelligence over there, and then they are trying to connect to the Paramatma that is there within. That is how they are happy with, and that is exactly how they are also connecting to the Supreme. Because yesterday in the Sankhya yoga, or Sankhya, when we learned lots about soul, then we saw one analogy where we saw about Brahman, which is a fulgence. Then we saw Paramatma, who's there within us, and also we saw the Bhagwan. So they are trying to connect to the Paramatma factor within them. And there are some kind of people who would want to gain more and more knowledge while they are doing their prescribed duty. They are detached to their prescribed duty. They want to gain more knowledge. More knowledge about what? More knowledge about the Shastras, about the Lord. So that is where they want to increase, or they want to gratify their mind over there. So they utilize their mind over there and they try to gain more knowledge. And there is another kind of a people who just want to love with pure bhakti. Their nature is just unalloyed, unadulterated. They try to serve the Lord. Their own ultimate aim is just to love the Lord. This is what we try to explain here. Now let's get into the most interesting part of it, which is the yoga ladder. While it might be confusing for people, but it is the most easiest part of it if we understand it thoroughly. So please pay attention to this particular part of it. So we will start with the bottom section, right? Because on a ladder we climb from the lower part of the ladder to the we go up. So the first or the below the rungs or the lowest of the activity is karma kanda. Should we talk about the animal part as well? Yeah, the lowest of karma kanda is the animalistic life. Now, what is animalistic life? Eating. There are four things in the animalistic life. Do you want to explain in detail about that? The four things: eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. So the animals, they do not know anything other than these four things, right? Eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. That is an animalistic life. But because we have not got an animalistic life, rather we have taken a human form of a life, because the Lord is merciful with us and we have done some good karmas or good deeds in our previous lives. And that's exactly why we get into the section of a karma kanda. Now, what is karma kanda? We are attached to the fruits. Basically we want some desired results. We are working because we want some desired results and we want sense gratification. As simple as that. For now, let's understand it that way. We are doing all those activities that are what you call encouraging for our sense gratification. So we at times we get into yajnas as well, as per shastras. Just now the way I explained, we get into these yajnas because we want certain material desires. I go and pray to Hanumanji saying, give me strength and give me more power. Or I do some other yajna saying to Ganeshji saying, okay, I need more buddhi, so on and so forth. That's how we get into that activity. Sakama Karma Yoga. Now, what is Sakama Karma Yoga? The next elevated stage. It is also a part of the Karma Yoga section, right? Attached to the fruits of the work and also the work itself. So here, this particular person is slowly getting into devotion, right? These kind of personalities, they understands the element of spirituality little bit more than the karma kanda section. These are the people who are frustrated in their material life, and they feel that at one point of time they feel that, yes, now I desire some kind of a purification. And they want to renounce their fruits. They think that they want to renounce their fruits, but they are attached because of the material desires, and still they are hanging on to the fruits as well, right? It is a little bit elevated stage of the karma kanda. Let's move on to the next stage, which is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, what is Nishkama Karma Yoga? This is again a part of the Karma Yoga section. It is not Karma Kanda section. It is a part of the Karma Yoga section. Yoga means connecting to the Lord. So Nishkama Karma Yoga, who gives up all the attachment to the fruits of the work. He gives up everything. But he is still attached to the work itself. That is called as nishkama karma. Means I'm doing an activity, at the same time I'm serving the Lord with all whatever my senses. I'm doing everything that is there within my control, but at the same time I'm also offering the fruits to the Lord, but at the same time I'm attached to the work itself. That is called as nishkama karma. One level higher is the Jnana platform. These people are who has already detached both from the action and the fruits of the action. They are almost like a renounced part, and they would want to understand the philosophical tattva about the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they inquire more and more about the Lord, right? So these are the Jnanis. If we recall in Bhagavatam, we have those four Kumaras as termed as the Jnanis, who luckily smelled the tulsi leaves and then they were immediately elevated into the Bhakti Yoga platform. Then the next platform above the Jnani Yogis are the Ashtanga Yoga, who will try to control their eightfold path system. This is an eightfold path system who would like to do their dhyana. They keep their body erect and straight and try to control their senses, mind, intelligence, and everything. And they try to focus within their Paramatma. That is called as the Ashtanga Yoga. And the topmost of the all is Bhakti Yoga, the loving devotional service of the Lord. Now, how do you do the Bhakti Yoga? We will try to see in the upcoming slides and the upcoming chapters as well. So it's as good as like now we know these are the various yoga ladders. Now, which one is ideal? Do we want to climb up the ladder one by one, or do you want to directly take up the elevator? Because whenever we want to, it has been given here, whenever we want to take a high-rise building, the best way is to take up a elevator rather than climbing one, one step at a time or taking up the ladder. This is where the Lord talks about the material world, which He designed to encourage certain sacrifices. We will see that in the upcoming slide. Okay, so after listening to this, Arjuna immediately ponders. He started thinking, now that I know that I'm the soul, and also I know that I'm not the body, and at the same time, I do not have any aspirations or worldly desires. Let me just retire and take sannyasa, right? And go back to the forest and take sannyasa. Let's see uh, Krishna explains here. This part of the section, we have clearly highlighted here as a slow progress. Now, why we have highlighted as a slow progress is because there are certain kind of people who do not, after knowing that we can take to the path of Krishna consciousness, they do not want to take up the path of Krishna consciousness. They still want to get into the mode of the yajna system. They still would want to continue with their karma kanda activities or their karma yoga activities. So Krishna is trying to establish over here with these kind of activities. So he says, because he has created the material world. Why did he create the material world? It is designed to encourage sacrifice so that we come back here. Lord has given all the amenities here, and so that we do our activities at the same time, sacrifice certain of the activities, and then offer all our fruits of our activities that we are doing to the Lord. This way, slowly, this is exactly why slowly one would slowly progress from the karma kanda section to the karma yoga section. When he gets into the karma yoga section, slowly he will get into the elevated stage of sakama karma yoga, then nishkama karma yoga, or else directly, as in when he understands the tattva from this Bhagavad Gita lessons, they will immediately take up the path of bhakti yoga by doing Krishna consciousness. Right? This is what we understood so far. So why or what is the purpose of this kind of a sacrifice? We will try to see that from these verses which are there. Benefits of performing prescribed sacrifices. In the verse 3.10, it clearly states, perform the prescribed yajna and all your desires will be fulfilled. Lord is saying, just perform the prescribed activities that are mentioned as per the Shastras. If you're not doing something called as, see, he's giving us many options. If you're not doing bhakti yoga, at least think about the demigods, right? We will understand in the next slide why we shouldn't pray the demigods. Ultimately, we should pray the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's still trying to instill that thought saying, okay, if you're not even obeying me, at least think of the demigods is what he's trying to say. Perform prescribed yajna and demigods will cooperate with you. If you don't do that, and if you don't offer whatever you're earning, or at least having some religious belief, then you are called as a thief, because you are just enjoying the gifts, is what Lord is trying to explain here. And we can understand the cycle of sacrifice from this particular verse or this particular slide, because why Lord has designed this, the entire process is designed so that we can get into a mood of dependence and also serve one and all within the hearts of this particular materialistic people. We are literally the materialistic people, right? We need we always have desires and we need a reason for anything and everything that we would want to do. So with this goal in mind, Krishna explains that those who receive the fruits of this particular sacrifice without recognizing or offering back to the Lord or to the demigods, they are called as thieves. Hence, we should always understand that there are four things, we need to understand what are the four things that are there in our life. We will know after going through this particular verse, we will see what are the four main things that is, or the real purpose of our life. Let's see the cycle of sacrifice first, which Lord was trying to explain. Annad bhavanti bhutani पर्यादन्न संभवः यज्ञाद् भवति पूजन्यो यज्ञ कर्म samudbhavah. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, that is a sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. This is the cycle of sacrifice which we are seeing over here, right? Uh, what does the cycle of sacrifice means here? So we know that the person who is in the karma kanda sections will know that there is someone called as a Lord, and then he will follow the shastras or the Vedas. And once he follows the shastras or the Vedas, he or she performs their duty. Whatever is the duty, they perform the duty. We have given an example of a farmer here who's performing the duty, and then he, after performing the duty, whatever fruits they are getting, they will try to sacrifice by offering it to the demigods. At least you do it to the demigods. When you do it to the demigods give rains, and again when there are rains, it comes to the, sorry,
Someone asked what is demigods.
okay. Yeah, when the rains come in, then comes the grains. Then once the grains are there, the grains we as living entities, we offer our in the form of a prashadam to the Lord. This is the ultimate, or this is the cycle of a sacrifice. Okay, someone has asked what is demigods. Demigods are who are what you call who are administering this particular entire material world. When I say administering this material world, we have various demigods. Now Indra is for rain, right? Then we have Brahmaji, who's maintaining or who's there for creating the living entity, so on and so forth. Similarly, there are various demigods which we will learn elaborately. You want to add something?
Yeah, so here just to understand that all the Krishna has appointed the devatas for each and every duty. For example, Lord Indra is also providing us rain, and also Lord Chandra, he provides the moonshine, which is required for all the plants and fruits. They provide different types of sweet juices. Even though the same moonshine is going into these fruits and vegetables, they have different kinds of juices that they emit. It's because of the moonshine that they receive. So each and every living entity is getting benefit from moon, and also we have sun god Surya Dev who gives us sunshine. So like that, each and every devta is actually is actually performing their own duties, and all of them are actually in line with Krishna, and hence we are able to receive each and every the benefits from these devatas. And hence, when we are performing these kind of sacrifices, we are giving away to these devatas, and devatas in turn, because they are when they are satisfied, they are giving us what is required for us.
For the material benefit. So as in, let's say I want Vidya, I will go to Ganesh ji. He's one of the demigod, right? Similarly, I need money. So what do? I offer my prayers to goddess Lakshmi, right? And goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi is also one of the demigods. Similarly, so on and so forth. That is how we understand. We will learn all these things more later. Okay. Moving on, this is what we understood so far, but what exactly is our real purpose in this particular yoga? In Satya Yuga, what used to happen, people used to meditate on Lord Vishnu. And in Treta Yuga, people used to perform sacrifices, right? In Dwapara Yuga, elaborate, there was temple worships. Literally, there was temple worship. But in this Yuga, what is the best thing? Do we need to do any sacrifices? Do we need to do any homas and kriyas? No. The Kali Yuga Dharma, where what you call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord himself, who descended here recently, right? Like 500 years ago, he established that the chanting of the holy name, which is the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if someone would want to know as to where is it written, give me the scriptural evidence. These are the scriptural evidence which is clearly mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yajna Sankirtana Prayor. It's clearly written here that Yajna, the Sankirtana Yajna, is the best in this particular Kali Yuga. That is one reference. And also in the Bhagavad Gita hymns, in the 10th chapter, which we're going to see in the next 10 days, which we'll see that Lord Himself states, Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy name, which is a japa, right? So the only way out here is the renouncing from this, or in this Kali Yuga dharma, is just to do the Sankirtana Yajna, which is chanting on the holy names of the Lord. So what we have understood is, what is the purpose of human life? Is to please the Supreme Lord. Never forget that. Always think of Krishna, never forget Krishna. Connect with Him. And what is the ideal process? What is the ideal process to connect with the Supreme Lord? Just please the Supreme Personality of Godhead with your unalloyed devotional service, right? And the best yajna for this particular age is Sankirtana Yajna. And what is the mantra that we need to be working on, or we need to be using every day, day in and day out, every second, is the Maha Mantra. This is a real sacrifice in this age of Kali Yuga. Right. With this, one might think that now I'm not the body and the soul, and my prescribed duties are meant for material rewards, and I do not have any material desire as well. Why should I even still go ahead with all these things? Let's try to understand that further. So Krishna explains in this particular verse. So he tries to explain here, therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So this is where Krishna clearly explains in this verse that the prescribed duties as the recommended path to attain the supreme personality of Godhead. Why? Because one should act as a matter of duty without being attached to the fruits. By working without attachment, one can simply attain the supreme personality of Godhead. And this is exactly why Krishna states Arjuna, saying, just wake up, just get up and fight. All you have to do is just get up and fight. Why he should fight? Because that was the will of the Lord, that was the interest of the Lord. So we should understand that there are various differences between Vedic rituals and Krishna consciousness. By now, almost all of us would have understood what are the differences between Vedic rituals and Krishna consciousness, and what is the purpose of Vedic rituals that are prescribed as per Shastras. They are saying, the Shastra states that at least if you are not connected to Krishna, at least do some Vedic rituals at all. Something or the other, perform something as a form of, you want to gratify your senses still, yes, gratify your senses and come back to the material world, but at least do in the form of a religiosity. However, if you're acting something in the form of Krishna consciousness, which is always transcendental, it does not have any good reactions or any evil reactions at all. That is how you're literally detached from everything. That's how we saw all the yoga ladders. That is exactly how one will be able to engage in all kind of activities. So in this yoga, we can engage in all kind of activities, but at the same time, we are literally unattached. So why is he trying to do that? Because he's trying to set an example here so that others will follow. How others will follow, we will see this in this particular slide. This is almost one of the favorites or the most important slides, or the most spoken slides by Srila Prabhupada as well. Yad yad acharate shreshthas tad tad evetaro janah sayet paramanah kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow such an action. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So Krishna is trying to establish here that acts, or he's saying, set an example. for the Krishna's pleasure to educate the public, to educate the normal people in this age of Kali Yuga. That is what he is trying to set an example here. The classic example we can see or think of is Janak Maharaj. He was the best or the ideal of the king because he renounced himself, but at the same time he was doing his activities as a king. And another classic example which we can think of from day one we learned, Srila Prabhupada, right? He renounced at the same time he did his activities. At the age of 69, he started his activities. And the most or the ideal of the example we can think of is Krishna, the supreme personality of Lord himself. He also performs his prescribed duties, but let's try to understand, for him there are no prescribed duties and there are no material desires. He doesn't have any material desires at all, but still he performs his prescribed duties. Okay, moving on further, this is what we have seen. He acts to a self-realized soul, acts as an example for Krishna's pleasure, so that we want to educate to the general public. Now, let's see at times what happens to the self-realized soul as well. This is also one of the topmost shlokas in this particular chapter. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vibhudatma kartaham miti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself as a doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. What does it mean? The spirit soul that is there within us. At times we are bewildered by Maya. Who is Maya? Maya is the material nature. And now, what is the activity of Maya? Maya rules of this material nature. This entire material nature is ruled by Maya, right? These are the three modes. What are the three modes? One is goodness, the next one is passion, and the last one is ignorance. Always, most of us, at times, we are passionately, we would want to do some work. Uh, why? Because we have a lot of desires. Today, I would want to buy a Samsung phone, tomorrow, an iPhone. I'm like literally attached. Or passionately, I would want to do some work because I want to, I have a material desire, or else I want to gain a name or a fame. That is my passion. And at times in ignorance, I don't do certain activity as well. And in the same ignorance, the spirit soul at times thinks that I am the actual doer. But in the upcoming chapters, we will see that there are three doers. Apart from me as a spirit soul, there is a three doers as well. In this particular verse, we learn that I am the doer, but there is an actual doer. Who's the actual doer? Which is the Maya, right? How does she do as well? In the upcoming chapters, we will also try to understand who is the third doer. Moving on, we will go to the next verse. We will try to understand why this verse come into picture, right? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya dharmachetasah nirashar nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatachvaraha. This is the real purpose of Bhagavad Gita. This is where Krishna is trying to explain through this verse that therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without any desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, just wake up and fight. This is what his Lord Krishna is trying to establish here. Because a self-realized soul clearly has a knowledge of the identity. What is the identity? That he is not the matter, but he is the soul. And he does not have any engagements. Neither, if he does not have any engagements, it means that there are no consequences as well, right? There are no consequences. We will learn in depth about the material modes of nature in the upcoming chapters, but we just learned a gist of it. That is exactly how a self-realized soul or a Atma Rama, how does he sit, how does he speak, how does he walk, how does he talk? We saw that yesterday. So here, this is the purest form of a Atma Rama, who's a self-realized soul. He is always into pure devotional service because for him, it's like the ritualistic religion. What we call the devotional service or serving Lord is like the only and the only thing for him. And that is how he purifies himself. And this is the real essence of Bhagavad Gita. Right. Moving on, we'll see Arjuna's inquiry. So Arjuna, after listening to all this, he again ponders and then he thinks there is some force. At times, we all would have thought. Till now, I hope we understood what we are talking about, all the stages of karma yoga. And then we saw who's a pretender. Then we saw who's a real person. It's better to do some duty rather becoming a pretender. And also we saw if somebody is not able to do karma yoga, or unable to do bhakti yoga, what to do. We learned that at least do some sort of a sacrifice he tried to do. And also we saw Lord was trying to set up as an example, right? And because we are in this material world, we are bound to be entangled with the modes of a material nature. We just saw a while ago. And we also just learned in the previous verse by saying what is the real purpose of Bhagavad Gita, to do unadulterated or unalloyed devotional service. With all this coming into picture, so at times we might think that at times there is some force that pushes us to abandon a duty or act in certain way. At times we do not want to do that as well. It is not our own will, but we are bound to do that activity. Yesterday, some couple of Matajis and also one of the Prabhujis was asking, and we remember Sunil Prabhuji was asking this question, and all of a sudden he realized that yes, it is better for me to do that activity. He's already understood in the second chapter itself that it is better to do certain activity rather than renouncing or giving up. So what is that? At times it bounds us. So we are trying to understand here, what is that force? It forces us against our own will. We see that this is the main part of it. Arjuna said, "O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to those sinful acts? Can you please explain us? Even unwillingly, we are forced to engage in such acts. And what is that force? And that force is nothing but the lust, right? Lust is not the definition of today's ideal definition. As in, when lust comes into picture, we think that attraction between opposite sex and for bodily activities. No, that's not called as lust. That is a partial part that is a partial understanding of a lust. But the literal meaning of lust is you are literally attached to certain thing, right? You are so lusty that you are attached to it, and no matter what, we would want to gain it. This is called as lust. This is what we are trying to understand from this particular verse. And this is where Krishna explains that yes, conquering the ultimate enemy, you have to conquer no matter what, which is a lust. One can curb, once you what you call conquer this ultimate enemy, you will be able to curb. Then how will you be able to curb? We will see that by following certain religious or certain principles or regulative principles. We will see that. Okay. There are different species or there are different species have different coverings of lust. This is what Lord is trying to explain here. Fire covered by smoke, this is the lowest of the lust that someone has. And mirrored covered by dust, these are the analogies that has been given by the by Srila Prabhupada, and also we can understand from this particular segment and in the Shastras as well. And also there is another form of the lust, which is like embryo covered by the womb itself. That is the most lustful, where it will take a lot of time for us to come out of those lusty desires. So this is what how we understand the lust covering our layers of our desires. If we remember, yesterday we also discussed, once we are attached to something, it leads to lust, and attachment leads to lust, and lust, if we are not able to gain that whatever we are thinking of that sense object or anything as such, then slowly anger creeps in. And once anger creeps in, what happens? We lose a memory. And once delusion comes into picture, we get angry. Once we are angry, it's a delusion, and then the memory is lost. Then finally we literally fall down and take all irresponsible decisions. So how do we overcome lust? Before we get into how do we overcome lust, we would want to explain, this is the body of the chariot. What we are trying to see in this particular slide is the body of the chariot, this particular section, right? What is the body of the chariot? Just assume that our body, our human body is like a chariot, whatever we see here, right? That there are five senses. We all know that there are five senses in our body or within us. And what are the five senses? One is the tongue, right, through which we taste, then the touch, then we smell, right, whatever we hear, and then whatever we see. These are the five sense objects or the five senses through which we perceive our sense objects. We will learn this in depth in our upcoming chapters in the 13th chapter as well. But just for our overview of our understanding here, for example, in the first day and in the second day, Praveen Prabhuji was asking, how do I control my senses? At times I'm not able to chant, right? In fact, I was also explaining to that particular answer. I was answering to that question saying, yes, I was also unable to chant, but we have to focus all our senses. How do we focus our senses? The reins of these particular chariot are called as the mind. You see there? Now, who is trying to take care of the mind? The driver. Who's the driver? The mind can be controlled with our intellect or with our intelligence. Higher than the mind is the intelligence. And who's behind over there? That is a soul or the consciousness that is behind over there. The soul is just sitting over there. So our soul will, as I said, can never remain quiet, always desires, desires, desires. Without any activity, our soul cannot stay, it always desires. So, how do we control that? As and when there is a particular desire for any sense object, the most easiest way, whenever we have a desire for a sense objects, all those prints come in front of our eyes and in front of our mind, it keeps flashing. I need a new mobile phone, I need a car. Today I buy a car. After that, oh, my one of my wants are desires are fulfilled. I want the second wants. I would go to the second one, right? This way. So what, as and when it comes in front of our eyes or in our mind, it flashes in our mind. What our mind or our we have to utilize our intelligence and try to block those kind of a things. Remember, we spoke about how self-realized soul, that is a Atmarama, who would try to control the senses, withdraw, just like a tortoise. Yesterday we gave an analogy, withdrawing your senses. So how do you withdraw your senses? By focusing or thinking about the Lord's feet, right? Thinking about the Lord's feet and start chanting. As and when you start chanting, still all the thoughts comes into your mind, but still keep chanting, and that is how we will be able to control our mind with our utilizing our senses. The working senses are superior to the dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses, and intelligence is way higher than the mind, and that's how the soul is even higher than the intelligence. So use our consciousness, and that way when you are able to use our consciousness and we understand that we are the soul and we have this, we have to serve the supreme personality of Godhead, that's how we will be able to control our senses as well as our mind as well. Moving on further, so this is the concluding slide where Krishna concludes in this particular chapter. We understood so far who's the enemy of our soul. The enemy of our soul is lust. And we saw the lust. Where are the sitting places of lust? The lust sits in many places within us. It's smoke covered by embryo and then smoke covered by the mirror, so on and so forth. We just saw a while ago. So here, Krishna finally closes this chapter or the karma section, karma yoga section, by saying, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this greatest or the great symbol of sin, which is a lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realizations. This is where he says, this is the only way of defeating our lust, right? And the easiest way of defeating our lust, which we follow in our Krishna consciousness or in ISKCON, is by the ABCD formula. What is the ABCD formula? Is the most easiest of the formula. Please always remember this. The first one, A for association, B for books or the Shastras, right? Association. Take the association of devotees, just like the way we have taken the association of the devotees right now. We all are listening. And this is like a Sankirtana Yajna, which we are doing by listening to the Bhagavad Gita lessons here. B, Take surrender to the books and the Shastras. How do you surrender? By taking a spiritual master, taking a Shiksha Guru. And finally, once you understand the Tattva of Bhagavad Gita, get initiated and follow regulative principles. And the third one, simple one, C is for chanting. Why chanting? We cannot do any kind of a sacrifice or yajnas in this yuga. We will learn that further, but just to give you a little bit of example or a little bit of information, because in this Kali Yuga, nothing is pure. We said we are born with 4 defects. We all have 4 defects. What we perceive that is the best, that is not the best, right? So A is for association, B is for books or the Shastras, and C for chanting, and D is for devotion. As and when I say devotional service, you might think, oh no, devotional service is very tough. So that's why I added the word over there as diet as well. Diet, by eating sattvic diet, right? Not only just sattvic diet, what we have to do. Yesterday, many Matajis asked, what do we do? Offer whatever we are eating to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Once we offer, take the prasadam, bhoga, offer bhoga to the Lord, and take that prasadam. The prasadam itself will cleanse us. And at the same time, connect to the Lord with devotion. And that is how we will be able to connect to the Lord through Karma Yoga. So this is where we started off the summary. What was the summary? Arjuna came up with the confusion saying, should I act or should I just renounce my activities and just go to the forest? Then in the second section, Krishna tried to explain the renunciation, at least why there are various stages of renunciation and how they are very difficult, and how you can do your prescribed duty with detachment, which is at least the Nishkama Karma Yoga is better for Arjuna. That is what he was trying to explain. And even if Arjuna is qualified for renunciation, he should still do Nishkama Karma Yoga to set an example, just like what we saw in the slides where what you call Janak Maharaj, right, was setting an example. Srila Prabhupada setting an example. We saw that as well. And then we saw who's the enemy of our soul. The ultimate enemy of our soul is lust. And we also saw the chariot of the body, or the body of the chariot, how the charioteer can control the 5 senses utilizing his intelligence, and how can defeat the lust within us, right? This is where we end our Karma Yoga section, or the 3rd chapter, with the various sections over here. Let's because this is our Kali Yuga Dharma, let's close this chapter before we get into the question answer sessions with our ultimate Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kirtan ki jai. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mute everyone. Yes, so we have muted everyone, and then we will get into the question answer section, right? So here in this question answer section, whoever has raised the questions will go one by one.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, yes, should I enable the chats for everyone?
Yes, Mataji. I will go ahead and start with the questions over here. Whoever has raised their hands, we will go with Sri Vidya Mataji. Yes, you can ask your question. Meanwhile, you can enable the chats, Mataji, so that we will also monitor the chats, see the chats, and then we will answer them. Let me stop sharing the screen now.
Yes, I've enabled the chats.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I just want the points on the first slide and the second slide, where the first slide you say first is Tyaga, that slide. I just want to note the points. And as well, the slide which says no one no one should remain unoccupied in any way. So those 2 slides, can you just
slides will be shared.
Okay, you want to see the slides? The slides will be shared, Mataji.
Sure, I'll just have to make a note of the points. That's it.
Okay. You want me to show them?
Can you please, if it's not a problem for you,
Yeah,
only
sure,
that.
sure. Okay, I'm just trying to share the screen while we take up the other questions as well.
Sure, thank you, Guruji.
Share the surely. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Are you able to see that? You said the first slide, right, Mataji?
The very first slide, which says the first point is Tyaga.
Mm-hmm.
And another slide which says no one to remain unoccupied in any way. Those, yes, this is the first slide.
Mm-hmm.
No, the one which is before this, Guruji, the very first.
This one? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the other.
This one?
Yes. After this, no one to remain and should unoccupied, attached to family.
There you go. This one.
Yes. Yeah, this is the one. Sure.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Aruna Mataji, Hare Krishna. You can ask your question as well.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
The soul observes the body changes, or mind observes the body changes?
The soul observes the body changes, or the mind observes the body changes? Interesting question. What do you think, Mataji?
I'm thinking mind observes the body changes. Soul is eternal, no, Prabhuji?
Soul is eternal, and the mind observes the body changes.
Yes.
I don't know. Let me take Mataji's observation as well.
Body changes as in what kind of changes, Mataji, you're asking about?
Are you talking about from birth to old
yes,
age
birth to birth to death.
So when we say, does the soul observe? The soul has the conscious. The symptom of the soul is consciousness. So what would happen is it's our mind and our intelligence, the knowledge that we gain through our intelligence. That is how the intelligence observes these changes within our body. To answer your question, Mataji.
Then mind only, the last mind only observes the body changes.
Yes. But ultimately, we saw in the last section, the soul is the one which is the conscious part of it. The soul gives the consciousness, and that's how the intelligence gets that consciousness, and so on. With that intelligence, you are able to utilize your mind as well.
Okay.
If we understand in that way.
Okay. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes, Ujjwal Prabhuji or Ujjwal.
Yes. Ujjwal Mahrotra.
Okay, I think not able to unmute. We will go to, what is it?
Anivilla.
How do we control our bodily lust?
How do we control our body lust? We just discussed, Prabhuji. How do we control our body lust? We are lusty because we are desiring something very grave, or whatever it is. Whatever we want, we are desiring for it. No matter what, we would want that to be fulfilled. So we have to detach that particular desire. Now, how do we detach that particular desire? By regulating our senses. That is how we have to follow our regulated senses.
Yes. We have to understand first, how did we get this lust? So what happens is, when we are when we are in the spiritual kingdom, we are with Krishna and we have love for Krishna. We have this intense love for Krishna. So when we fall down to the material world, this love, intense love, gets converted to lust, and that's how this becomes the enemy of the soul. The very love which is there for Krishna becomes the very enemy of the soul. And how do we get it back into action? That is, how do we get back into love? Is by following it's not easy for us to realize it, but the way it needs to be done is, you'll have to follow the regulative principles and withdraw your senses wherever your mind is sending those pictures which are trying to allure you. When your mind is alluring you with pictures, And when you're having these 6 senses which are always distracted, you'll have to bring them back like a tortoise and attach them back into Krishna consciousness. That way you can conquer lust.
Yeah. Also, we discussed what are the 4 things that are required. We should understand with our intelligence after knowing the Shastras and after knowing all this, we know, after knowing that we are the soul and we are not the body, we need to understand the first prime thing, which is what is the purpose of our human life, right? We need to understand that is it's like we are pleasing the Supreme Lord. And
ABCD, that's
right,
it.
and then what is the ideal process? We remember we spoke about the ABCD formula: association, then Shastras, chanting. Why chanting? Because that is the Sankirtana Yajna for this particular yuga. And what is the mantra that we need to look at it? Is always the Maha Mantra. Following
The thing is that we already know what are the places where the lust is going to be sitting, which is mind, intelligence, and all the senses. So if we are able to relate everything that we are doing to mind, intelligence, and senses, automatically we'll be able to conquer the first parts where we can attach these things: mind, intelligence. How do I attach my senses? By smelling tulsi. If we are able to, by smelling tulsi leaves or by smelling the flowers offered to Krishna, that's
we
by
can
smelling
control our
those.
nose.
And by eating prasadam or talking about Krishna conscious or talking about Krishna, that's
Or
how you
eating
control.
prasadam. Yeah.
Yes.
That is our tongue or the mouth. How do we control our ears? By always listening to the Shastras or Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha. That is how one after the other.
So that's how we control our senses. And how do we control our mind? By controlling by mind and also intelligence by listening to Krishna conscious or Krishna stories and Krishna's
Pastimes.
it's not easy for us to do all the time, but somewhere we need to start and increase the duration. That's how we can control our lust.
Hope we were able to answer the question, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay. What do we have here?
Ruchi? No, Saranya.
No.
Ujjwal.
Yes.
Ujjwal Prabhu. I don't know. We're not able to unmute.
Okay.
him.
I think Prabhuji is not able to unmute.
Ravi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
I've been having this confusion. You told that story about Bharata, wherein he saw the deer give birth to the deer child and die, and he took care of the child deer. So I feel that story shows his humanity, and the confusion is when we say we need to be need to be detached. How do you really draw the line from being inhuman and being selfish? That is, if I'm just I'm just thinking about I need to just do my own chanting or um, and not look at the other people or other beings suffering and feel with them and help them out. And then how do we draw the line between pure selfishness and then being always absorbed in the chanting of
being in Krishna
being
consciousness.
in the Krishna consciousness? There is this very thin line, seems like, between
Very good
that.
question, Prabhuji. Very good question. So here in this scenario, Bharat Maharaj, when he renounced his life and then went to the forest, he was doing his renounced order of the life, and he was doing his dharma over there, doing his prescribed duties. As and when he saw that someone was in danger, as you rightly mentioned, when somebody is in danger, what we are supposed to do? Yes, the something called as a compassion that creeps in within us, and the first thing that we want to do is lend support to them, right? All he had to do is he could have done that. He could have saved the deer, the baby deer or the foal, right? But instead, what happened is he started getting a attachment towards the deer, thinking, "Oh, I am the only father and mother of this deer. If I am not there, the deer might die." Right? He saved it. He took care of the deer for some time. After that, you detach yourself, because it's not that we are the only whole soul. He's not just the doer. We just understood in prakriti kriya manani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimhudatma kartaham iti manyate. We just understood that we always think that I am the doer who's doing everything, but we forget that it's not me. It's not just me who's doing it, right? If I want to raise my hand, it's not just me that who's raising the hand, right? I desire, my soul desires to raise my hand, but however somebody else is sanctioning it, and with that sanction somebody else does this activity and takes care of this particular activity. That is because I'm in the material world, the material nature does this activity as well. So coming to your question, what happened is he was completely attached to the deer. He thought that without me, this particular deer cannot survive at all, and that's how the process of, that's where he fell down, and he had to take another life before he could go back to Godhead. Hope I was able to answer your question, Prabhuji. Ravi, right? Yes, Ravi. Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. One just follow up on that is, so which means that you're being not attached to the fruit, but just doing the work is what you're suggesting then, right? Being
Yes,
that way.
yes.
So nishkama karma in that sense.
Nishkama karma, and slowly once we are at least coming to the stage of nishkama karma, we can then, now we should use our intelligence. Should we do just the nishkama karma or go to something called as bhakti yoga? So when we come into the stage of nishkama karma, we will be doing our activity completely renounced from our activity, as also we will be renounced from the fruits of the activity as well. That is what one does in the stage of a Krishna conscious or bhakti yoga. Correct. Your understanding is correct, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So seems like the ladder steps that you mentioned are something that not taking a step. Instead, it's a step by step. We need to go from one level to the other. That is, probably it will start off with a karma yoga. That is, we probably are attached to both, and then keep lying up.
Yes,
keep
someone
going
who would
up the
want to go
ladder.
that way. Correct. But
Yeah,
if
in every
if
step.
we want to take an elevator, we can directly take the elevator and take Krishna consciousness. Yes, you're right.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll go with the next.
Ruchi Raval.
Good evening, sir. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, would you mind coming on the video as well? Because we would want to also see the person who's asking a question.
Yes, sure, sir.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Sir, I have two questions. One question is related to yesterday's chapter. It was not addressed. Can one soul be split between two bodies? जैसे twin flame कहते हैं ना, we say twin flame. That is, can one soul be shared between two bodies?
We did answer this particular question, Mataji. Yes.
I think you were not.
I think by the time you raised the question, and I think you would have left. So yeah, so a soul cannot be cut into pieces. That's what we learned yesterday. So the soul will not split.
Sir, twin flame, I mean that Western terminology say twin flame.
So there is a terminology called as twin flame, but in our Shastras, there is nowhere mentioned as the soul can be split into two.
Okay, sir. And today's doubt is senses controlled by mind, mind controlled by intelligence, and intelligence by soul. So what is difference between mind and intelligence?
What is the difference between mind and intelligence? We utilize our mind, but who gives these imprints? Let's say I'm looking at a piece of a mobile, or I'm looking at a particular object, right? We need an intelligence to the mind. We utilize our mind with our intelligence.
Okay.
The job of our mind is only to take pictures or take pictures of a memory. It's a memory file. So it can't make its own decision. It only knows certain imprints that are there. Whatever I see, it just takes. That's the job of a mind. But intelligence is the one which shows direction to the mind where it wants to go. So when you're making a decision whether I want to eat this gulab jamun or not, that decision is made by the intelligence. But mind, whenever you are feeling like doing something, whenever your your senses, that is, you think your senses want something, it keeps sending pictures. Okay, maybe it's rasmalai, maybe it's gulab jamun. So it keeps sending those imprints that are sitting in your mind. But the intelligence is the one which has to be taken into control, that my mind is sending these pictures, but I have been conditioned to eat this, and I've been conditioned to do this for many lifetimes. But now I need to condition myself and take control of my mind to not get allured to this, but choose this. So that's
Okay.
how we can route our intelligence. It's like driving a car. Intelligence is the one which takes left or right. So we need to take help of the intelligence to drive right or left.
And
But
it gives the
yeah.
instructions to the mind, and the mind controls the senses over there.
So that's how we
Okay.
can withdraw.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I think that was a question there in the chat as well, which you raised, right? And then somebody asked, I think, yeah, Ujjwal Prabhuji has asked how to handle bodily lust in the chat, right? How to handle bodily lust. So we just saw how to handle bodily lust. We just saw how to manage lust or defeat lust. We just answered a while ago. So defeating lust is where first we identify that what is the kind of a lust that you are looking at. Here you have clearly specified as a bodily lust. So we need to understand what is the outcome of that, right? And the simple way is you need to control it. Now, how do you control it? You have to regulate your senses. Now, how do you regulate your senses? By focusing on the what you call Lord's lotus feet. That way, you will be able to regulate your senses. Get into act of what you call do certain actions which are supposed to do, and do not do those forbid actions at all. So that way you will be able to regulate your senses. Once you regulate your senses with your intelligence, and that's where you will be able to control your lust. But always remember the ABCD formula as well. Right, quickly I'm seeing the chats as well, Mataji here. I think Vijaya Prabhuji, is that Vijaya? Yeah, what are the 4 defects that we are born with? Yes. What are the 4 defects that we are born with? The first defect is we have imperfect senses, right? The second defect is we are illusioned, right? The third defect is we always make mistakes. And then the last defect, because we make mistakes and we are illusioned and we have imperfect senses. And the last defect is because of this, we try to have something called as a cheating propensity, and we cheat with that. So these are the 4 defects which we are born with. Okay, can you please describe a little
About yourselves.
about myself? Okay, I'm Samba Shiva. I'm married to Mamta, have a 10 years old kid, and successfully working as well at the same time in Krishna consciousness for the last 5 to 8 years, and almost like 10 years we are into Krishna consciousness. That's about me, or that's about us. What is the difference between mind and intelligence? We just answered that.
Putting the detail.
Okay.
You said that what is happening? I think that everything is destined.
It is said that what has to happen, it happens. That is, everything is destined. Kindly explain the, what is that? Kindly explain the role of destiny in the person's life via vis-a-vis karma. Okay, there is nothing called as destined. Who has asked this particular question? Do we have Neeraj Prabhu? Okay, there is nothing called destined, Prabhuji. It's all the acts that we are doing. Yesterday also we discussed this particular topic. It is basically the acts that we are doing leads into it. When I say acts, any deeds that we do, any act that we are doing, just now we understood as well, and yesterday also we understood, any karma or any activity that do will have a reaction. The reaction is either a good or a bad or an evil reaction. So based on our acts, that is how our body is being prepared. Right now, if I'm doing an activity, based on my activity, my upcoming body is being prepared. But if I'm completely merged in Krishna consciousness and I do unalloyed service to the Lord, which is the real nature of my soul, that is how I will be go back to Godhead, and I will not be able to take another body at all. So there is nothing called as it is destined. We are here in this material world because of not any destiny or because it is pre-written. We are writing, or we are literally are writing our next life. Okay, let's take a question here. Okay. Anvila Prabhu. Or we just answered that, right? Okay. Amrita Mataji.
Prabhuji, Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, please.
this is Manohar Anivilla with you from Saudi Arabia.
Yes, Manohar Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama,
Krishna.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
It was a fortune time for me to have this conversations and knowing about our spirituality, being in a place which is, I'm away from India, as you all know. Here, actually, I have one small doubt. I don't know whether it is, how far it is relevant to our conversation, but still I'm asking. I believe in the Janma based on the karmas of the past Janma, and whatever the sins we do, whatever the goods we do, based on that, we will again rebirth. And in the middle of our life, we do struggle based on the positives we did in the past life and the negatives we did in the past life. And similarly, when we end up this life, we do also donate so many things, do so many sacrifices, and we do even donate our organs, being alive even after death also, with our consent. Here my question is, are we crossing the limitations of the God Krishna, which he has given the sins and the positives, which we need to struggle and enjoy in this Janma? But are we violating his instructions or his blessings by donating our organs, being alive or even after death? That is what my dilemma is all about. Means, are we passing our papa karmas to another person with our consent in the name of sacrifice, or in the name of daya guna or some other manner? Or we realize that person need a kidney, okay, let me donate a kidney. That person need a blood, let me donate my blood. That person need an eye, let me donate my eye to him. By knowingly, are we doing a right thing, or are we going against to the will of the God?
Okay.
That is what my dilemma is all about.
Okay, so let me take just 1 minute before I answer this particular question, Prabhuji. So today we learned in the karma and the entire karma yoga section, we learned about 4 sections, right? We started off with something called as a mithyachari, right? First Arjuna asked, should I renounce or should I do the activity? Then we started talking about in terms of, then the Lord explained saying, yes, you have to do your activity. You cannot renounce, because if you renounce, if you do a premature renounce, you'll be called as a mithyachari. And then we also understood what is the best way of doing the activity. In the 4 sections we understood, if you're still not able to do the activity, that is, if you're not getting into the something called as a karma yoga means connecting to the Lord, not able to do it, at least connect to the material demigods. We just said, at least sacrifice whatever activity you're doing, at least offer the fruits to this material world. That way, what you're doing, at least you will have a religiosity, and still you will be born into the cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, because we are offering the fruits to the demigods. Where are the demigods? We will see that in the planetaries, what we have, the loka and lokas, all the 14 lokas, where we will see the demigods are still in the material world. They also have something called as birth and death, right? At least do to them, so that slowly tomorrow you will elevate your consciousness, because whatever offering that we do as a sacrifice to a demigod also, the first thing that we do is Om Vishnu. So the first thing that is being chanted is Vishnu. It is being offered to Vishnu. So that way, indirectly or something, you're offering to Vishnu. And finally, we concluded it, what is the ideal thing is to devotional service. So here, coming back to your question, we are in this material world, as I just answered a while ago, that we have 4 defects. We think that the activity that we are doing is the best, because that is our sense perception. With our sense perception, we feel that that activity is best. So if we are thinking as donating an organ, let's say, Prabhuji, you're donating an organ to me, and I'm going to become a terrorist tomorrow. Who's going to take the karma of my deeds?
So
Will I take
maybe,
the karma of my deeds, or will you take the karma of my deeds?
yeah, I have to. I have donated the organ, so it is
Yes,
because of me it has happened.
because of you, I'm still surviving today, right? But I am not connecting to the Lord. But yes, yesterday we answered the same question as well. I don't know if you were there in yesterday's session, or
I was
maybe
there.
maybe you left early. So yesterday the same question was answered, where yes, you can still do a donation or a charity to a person who is connected to the Lord. When you know that the person is connected to the Lord in form of a Krishna consciousness, or he's purely connected to the Lord, you can do it in some form of you can show the compassion and also do a charity. But however, without knowing, we cannot do a charity, if I have
But
to answer it that way.
how do we know that that organ will be reaching to that particular person, and what is his sin and what was his
This is
blessing? How
exactly,
do we know?
yes, this
How
is
do we
exactly
know?
what we are
Because
trying to say, because we do not know today. The hospitality industry, or whatever the segments that we have today, we do not know where my organ is being used, where my blood is being used. I'm donating blood in the form of a charity, or in the form of a goodwill gesture for humanity. There are so many NGOs which are there today who says that we are doing Madhava Seva, right? That's a different context altogether. We cannot say that yes, we are doing Manava Seva and Madhava Seva. That is a different context altogether. So that is
but
what we need to understand here.
but when we voluntarily give, supposedly eye donation,
Mhm.
if we give with our consent our eye donation, we don't know who, which person will be using them for their best future.
This is
This is our
exactly,
intention while donating. But he may do some fault things, he may do some good things. So are we becoming a root cause to that person to associate this organ to do his karma?
yes, we are taking the sense of that particular activity which we are doing by donating it. If that person
So
gets into a
so
ill or a evil effect, we are the one who has to take the.
so by thinking fearfulness with the negative thinking, so it is better not to donate any organs to anybody, or still without knowing his uh, intentions, good intentions or bad intentions, at last, it is serving to other human being who is in need of it. In that way we should think how we should come to a conclusion in this, because
Yes,
I
we need to understand that a human life is in this material world. A human life is, we are there in this human life because we have done some sinful activities in our life, in our past life. And that is exactly why we have taken a human life. And we are lucky that at least now we have taken a human life rather than an animalistic life. And if we are able to connect to the Lord and surrender to the Lord and take shelter of a spiritual master, the spiritual master will show us the path and the right way as to what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do. And if we take a decision of just donating an organ or doing something just with our perception and with our knowledge, thinking that that will serve some humanity, that is not the ideal thing. That's according to our limited knowledge, Prabhuji,
Okay.
from whatever we have learned from the Shastras.
Even Islam is also saying the same here. Taking the organs is okay for them, but giving the organs is not acceptable for them.
Yeah, so because we do not know how it is being used. For example, you are doing, let's say we are doing charity, right? We are doing charity to some particular organization, but we do not know what are the ongoings of that particular charity that is being accumulated. Where is it going to? So it is rather better to give to a particular organization whom we know that yes, they are doing it properly. So that's the answer here.
Actually, even not even an organization, if you know for sure that if it is a devotee, if you know that it's going to be a devotee who is going to receive it, then it's okay. But if you do not know, if it's not going to be a devotee, then you will be facing the karmic reactions because that particular organ is used by a non-devotee, and it would be whatever karmic reactions they have to suffer, we'll also be taking. Even it's not only in case of organ donation, even in case of it, the general rule actually applies into any charity. Any charity, for example, let's say we are thinking in the mode of goodness, we are trying to do charity.
Yeah.
And
Apatradana.
yes, it's like I'm trying to do the charity thinking that it's going to be going for a good cause, but from our own blunt senses, we don't know that if it's going to be going for a good cause or not. Only Krishna knows if it's going to be for a good cause or not. So it's rather better not to do the charity when you do not know. It would unnecessarily lead into consequences where we may we may lead ourselves into the wrong places. So just if it's anything for if it's not going to be binding you into karma, then it's better. If it's not going to be binding you into karma, it's better not to do that charity. Rather it just give it to the temple or somewhere where they are really doing some services in the name of Krishna. Because why are we doing charity? Charity we are doing only for the sake of Krishna, so that we can get rid of our own sinful reactions that we have been accumulating from many lives. So if we want to get rid of that, if you want to do for your own compassion that you have in your heart, then it's okay. um, for example, we saw the Bharat Maharaj story today. We saw compassion automatically by seeing the deer. Why did he get the compassion? Because he's a soul. He got the compassion towards another soul. But usually, the compassion, if it is like if it's for the soul, he should have just made that the deer as a devotee, and it's okay. But there he got attached to the deer, where it's bodily attachment. It's more of a the one that is condemned about this story is that eventually he even stops performing his duties.
He was so attached to the deer.
Yes, he was so attached to the deer that he stops even his spiritual duties. He stops doing his yagna for some time. So this is what when he's getting an attachment, whatever brings you closer to Krishna, then it's okay. That kind of an attachment is okay. But if it's not bringing one closer, then it's not going to be a proper charity. It's not a preferable or a recommended charity is what is written in Shastras.
Okay, Prabhuji, okay, Mataji. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
your
much. Thank you so
time
much.
and
Hare
efforts
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
for cleansing me. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, so we can take up the next question from Pradeep Chavan. Shall I
Yes.
unmute him?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being so patient with all of us and answering patiently. We really appreciate that, Prabhuji and Mataji. Really, it's an insightful session going on, and just getting confused as far as the answer which are coming from a lot of devotees, right? So just wanted to understand the concept of tyaga, right? So for example, if a father is there, and the father is suffering with a disease of disease, or say anything, he is suffering, right? And for example, let us take the example of a kidney. For example, if dad needs a kidney, and he's expecting his son to donate a kidney to him, right? So in that case, if son performs his duty, would that be called a taga, wishfully or against the wish? I'm just wanted to understand from you.
Tyaga is a different topic altogether. Tyaga is you are, so if Tyaga comes into picture, the person will not be even donating anything. The person renounces. There is no that you will. The person forgets that he's my father, mother, sister, brother, wife, and anything, and he just renounces his life, and he goes to take the shelter of the Lord, and he tries to connect to the Lord. That is called as Tyaga, renouncing the life.
Okay, and so how this favor would be termed as then?
In
Because
this particular context, this particular context will be termed as still sort of an attachment where you are doing an activity.
Okay,
And this kind of an activity is termed as a charity.
okay. And one more question I have in this regard. See, we when we are in Krishna consciousness, right? We tend to get into Krishna consciousness so much all the time that we tend to forget the duties of our material world sometimes. So if it happens with one of the partners also, no, life partner, so how to do it, how to go about it? So for example, if my wife has some expectations, and just because I'm quite involved in Krishna consciousness, right, and I'm not able to fulfill the requirements from my wife which are